On the world news, U.S. President do not credit Ukraine theory during impeachment hearing. Man guilty of killing backpacker Grace Millen in New Zealand. Also on the world news, Russians under threat over video about gay man. A very warm afternoon to you. Welcome to the World News here on Independent Television. We're live in Benin City, Nigeria. I am Wuyi Agmofwegbe. We begin by telling you the Senate yesterday had passed a finance bill during plenary after it scaled through the third reading on the floor of the Senate. The bill seeks to amend 6 tax provisions and make them more responsive to tax reform policies, and also seeks to amend the Customs and Excise Tariff Act to encourage local manufacturers. Pius Nsogo has details.
The legislations under the bill include companies' income tax, value-added tax, customs and excise tariff, capital gains tax act, petroleum profits tax, and stamp duties act. The passage of the bill followed the presentation of the report of the Senate Committee on Finance by Senator Adeola Solomon. Meanwhile, some lawmakers expressed concern over some of the tax bills as the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Enyenanya Abraibe, insisted that the value-added tax should be left at 5% instead of the proposed increase to 7.5%. The Senate President, however, explained that the bill does not impose taxes on Nigerians, but the federal government was trying to create the revenue necessary for the provision of schools, health care, and an economy that works for everyone, and that the bill will ensure that the nation's tax system was streamlined. Pius Nsogo reporting.
Federal State Government House this morning, Governor Godwin Obaseki charged the new chief judge to live above board in the dispensation of justice in the states. We'll have details of that story for you later. Let's turn to Nigeria's North Central now, where the Independent National Electoral Commission has fixed November 30 for the conduct of supplementary and rerun elections for Kogi West Senatorial District and Ajakuta Federal Constituency, respectively. In a statement, INEC National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, said the decision was taken at the meeting held on Thursday in Abuja. He recalled that at the conclusion of the court-ordered Kogi West Senatorial rerun election on Saturday, supplementary polls were indicated by the coalition returning officer for the senatorial district. The affected areas include 20 registration areas, 53 polling units, and 46,767 registered voters spread across 7 local government areas of the senatorial district. Mr. Okoye said collation procedures shall be in line with extant guidelines for collation at the supplementary polls. He added that the list of affected registration areas and polling units would be uploaded on INEC websites as well as communicated to the stakeholders in the respective registration areas and polling units. INEC declared the Saturday senatorial rerun election for Kogi West inconclusive because the margin of win was less than the total cancelled votes. Meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission has presented a certificate of return to the Bayelsa State Governor-elect Chief David Lyon. Ameze Obaisiagbo reports that INEC also presented certificate of return to the incumbent governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, who was declared winner of the governorship election in the state.
Bayelsa State Resident Electoral Commissioner Pastor Monday Udo, in his speech, said the election conducted by INEC was adjudged right in the eyes of the world. He said the process, which started in May 2019, came with a lot of apprehension following fears of violence hinged on the outcome of previous elections in the state that were marred by violence and killings. The resident electoral commissioner thereafter presented certificates of return to David Lyon of the APC, who defeated 44 candidates, including the candidate of PDP, Senator Donye Diri.
David Lyon and APC is signing a contract, and that contract is to develop Bayelsa. The contract is to bring peace so that investment will come on board Bayelsa State. I assure you that David Lyon and his team and APC will not disappoint Bayelsa.
The commission also presented a certificate of return to a member of the Bayelsa State House of Assembly representing Brass Constituency 1, Charles Daniel, whose supplementary election was concluded on November 16. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission has presented the certificate of return to Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello. Governor Bello received the certificate 3 days after he was declared as the winner of the just concluded governorship election in the state. INEC's National Commissioner in charge of Nasarawa, Kogi and Kwara states, Mohammed Haruna, presented the certificate to the governor at a ceremony attended by the Commissioner of Police in Kogi, which held at the INEC office in Lokoja, the state capital.
I sincerely appreciate the people of Kogi State who teamed out en masse to repose this confidence and trust and believe in myself and my brother Edward David Omoja. I want to sincerely appreciate you and thank you for this wonderful job well done.
The governor was accompanied by his deputy Edward Onoja and top government officials and chieftains of the All Progressives Congress in the state. Ameze Obais Yagbon reporting.
We return to our earlier story now. The governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, has sworn in Justice Esther Edigi as the new Chief Judge of the state. Speaking at a ceremony which was held at Government House, Governor Godwin Obaseki charged the new Chief Judge to live above board in the dispensation of justice in the state. Meanwhile, a special interdenominational service and valedictory ceremony in honor of the retiring Chief Judge of Edo State, Justice Eso Ekbome, is ongoing at the High Court premises in Benin City. We'll have details of this story for you later. Anyway, from Benin now, President Muhammadu Buhari says the leadership of the 8th National Assembly sometimes kept the budget for months after presentation before passing it. He disclosed this to the Conference of Speakers who visited him yesterday at the presidential villa in Abuja. President Buhari decried that the delay persisted in spite of his efforts to seek more understanding from the former leaders of the Assembly. The president urged lawmakers in the country to always place the interest of the people first in all deliberations and negotiations. He said the autonomy of state legislatures has been constrained by the Constitution, adding that the laws of the land have upheld the standard for all public officers and institutional operations. According to the president, the Constitution must be adhered to or altered to reflect some dynamics and realities of the country. And the Kano State High Court has notified the appointments and creation of 4 additional emirates in Kano State. The presiding judge, Justice Usman Namba, yesterday ruled that due process was not followed in the creation of those emirates. Ameze Obaishabo completes the report.
Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje had earlier in May assented the bill seeking the establishment of 4 additional first-class emirates, Rano, Gaya, Karaya, and Bichi in Kano State. Governor Ganduje assented the bill following its passage by the Kano State House of Assembly. He later in the month presented letters of appointment to the 4 new first-class emirs during a ceremony held at the state capital. Counsel to parties in the case comment.
This was a bill which was done in just 2-3 days and certainly done in breach of the constitutional provision and of course in breach of the rules of the House of Assembly itself.
You know, it will be highly unethical for me to analyze the judgment. The media just recently, so I will reserve my comment.
Those presented with the letters of appointment include Aminu Ado Bayeru, the son of late Emir of Kano, Ado Bayeru, as the Emir of Bichi, Ibrahim Abdulkadir as the Emir of Gaya, Tafida Abubakar as the Emir of Ranu, and Abubakar Ibrahim II as the Emir of Karaye, and Meze Obais Yagun. Reporting.
You're watching the World News here on Independent Television. Still to come, U.S. President Donald Trump discredits Ukraine theory during impeachment hearing. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to the World News here on ITV. Remember, you can always watch us on youtube.com/ITV Radio NG. We're also live at itvradioNigeria.com/live, as well as we urge you to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/ITV Radio NG. Let's turn to stories beyond our shows now. An ex-White House aide, Fiona Hill, has told the impeachment inquiry that U.S. President Donald Trump has disregarded senior advisors and pushed a false theory that Ukraine had meddled in the 2016 election. She said the president had instead listened to the views of his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. Adesowa Irunoha has details.
The inquiry is assessing if President Trump withheld aid to pressure Ukraine to investigate a political rival. U.S. President Donald Trump, who has denied the allegations, said it is illegal in the U.S. to seek foreign help to gain electoral advantage. According to a discredited theory, it was Ukrainians or individuals with Ukrainian connection who had interfered in the 2016 vote rather than Russia. In a phone call with the Ukrainian president, President Trump urged him to look into the claims as well as open an investigation into Joe Biden, one of the main Democratic presidential candidates. Thursday was the fifth and last scheduled day of public hearings by the House Intelligence Committee. Concluding the proceedings inquiry, Chairman Democrat Adam Schiff said President Trump's conduct had been far more serious than anything done by a U.S. former president, Richard Nixon, during the Watergate scandal in the 1970s. Ms. Hill, the former top Russian expert to the White House, accused other members of President Trump's Republican Party of sowing doubt about Russian interference in the 2016 elections. Adesuwa Irunohai reporting.
A man who strangled a British backpacker and hid her body inside a suitcase has been found guilty of murder. Grace Milan was found buried in a bushland outside Auckland, New Zealand. Again, let's join Adesowa Irunoha for details.
A jury at the city's High Court rejected claims by the 27-year-old man that she died accidentally, pointing out that he sexualized the killing by searching for pornography, stopping at one point to take lewd photos of her corpse. Prosecutors said post-mortem examinations found bruises consistent with restraint on her body and that she had been strangled. On the night of her death, the court heard the defendant was not distressed or concerned by her death and set about making plans to dispose of her remains. He showed no emotion as the verdict reached was read out after about 5 hours of deliberations. Mrs. Merlin's parents, David and Gillian, wept in the public gallery as jurors convicted their daughter's killer. Grace Merlin was a University of Lincoln graduate and she was said to be on a round-the-world trip at the time of her death. Justice Simon Moore said the defendant would be sentenced on 21 February next year. Speaking outside the court, an emotional Mr. Milan said the family's life has been ripped apart by his daughter's barbaric murder.
Will be welcomed by every member of the Milan family and friends of Grace. It will not reduce the pain, the suffering that we've had to endure for over the past year.
Adesuwa Irunohai reporting.
A criminal investigation in Russia has opened under the charge of sexual assault after a video in which children asked a gay man questions about his life and sexuality was posted online. A series was hosted where children met people with different life experiences and asked unscripted questions. The interview with the gay man did not include any discussion of sex, but the Deputy Speaker of Parliament filed a complaint with police. Promoting homosexuality to young people was banned in 2013, punishable by fine. To some health matters now. According to first analysis by the World Health Organization, some 11 to 17-year-olds around the world are not taking enough physical exercise. The World Health Organization says children's health is being damaged as well as their brain development and social skills. Sharon Ajayi completes this report.
Reports according to World Health Organization says children failing to take the recommended hour a day of exercise are a universal problem in rich and poor countries. Boys were found to be more active than girls in all but 4 of the 146 countries studied. The target is 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise a day. The World Health Organization reports found inactivity was a universal problem from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe. According to the study, Bangladesh had the lowest levels of inactivity, but it still had 66% of children not taking an hour a day of exercise. Boys in the Philippines, 93%, the girls in South Korea, 97% were the most inactive in the study. In the UK, 75% of boys and 85% of girls were inactive. Sharon Ajayi reporting.
During a demo for the new Tesla Cybertruck, Elon Musk had an embarrassing moment when demonstrating how hard the windows were to break. Twice the truck's windows were smashed, with Mr. Musk jokingly saying that there was no room for improvement. The truck was unveiled in Hawthorne, California, where its stainless steel angular design was greeted with cheers and bemusement. Tesla's truck will be sold starting at $39,900 for a model which has a range of 250 miles, while the most expensive model at $69,900 will have a range of 500 miles. Tesla says it will seat up to 6 adults and haul a payload of 3,500 lb. The UK has been called an illegal colonial occupier by an Indian Ocean island nation, Mauritius, after it ignored a deadline to return control of an overseas territory to the island nation. The UN had given the UK 6 months to give up control of the Chagos Islands, but that period has passed. Mauritius says it was forced to treat the small in the Indian Ocean in 1965 for independence. The UK says it does not recognize Mauritius's claim to sovereignty. Britain's Foreign and Commonwealth Office insists it has every right to hold on to the islands, of which Diego Garcia is home to a US military air base. The UK government says in a statement that it has no doubts of their sovereignty over the British Indian Ocean Territory, which has been under continuous British sovereignty since 1814. Mauritius claims it was forced to give in exchange for independence, which it gained in 1968. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić has said his country's security services have uncovered spying by Russian agents. President Vučić confirmed a Russian intelligence official had a meeting with a retired Serbian military officer during which money changed hands. A YouTube video of the December meeting surfaced at the weekend. Mr. Vučić said his officials had also found evidence of 10 other contacts between Russian agents and Serbian officers, but he insisted these incidents would not affect Serbia's close relations with Russia. He said he was sure President Putin was not informed about the actions of the Russian agents. The Russian is identified as Lieutenant Colonel Gregory Kleban, A former assistant military attaché at Russia's embassy in Belgrade, greeting a retired Serbian army officer identified only as ZK. The video was not made Serbian agents, and the president did not disclose who filmed it. And as we end the world news here on independent television, another look at our top stories. An ex-White House aide, Fiona Hill, has told the impeachment inquiry that U.S. President Donald Trump has disregarded senior advisors and pushed a false theory that Ukraine had meddled in the 2016 election. A man who strangled a British backpacker and hid her body inside a suitcase has been found guilty of murder. Grace Milan was found buried in a bushland outside Auckland, New Zealand. And finally, we told you, a criminal investigation in Russia has been opened under the charge of sexual assault after a video in which children asked Gaidma questions about his life and sexuality was posted online. And that's our time on the World News here on ITV. I'll be back here at 1:30 with Business This Week. I'm Muyi Agmofwegbe. Have a great day with us.
Independent television news, truly independent.
Mama Bichio say Onitsha market in Ekpoma.
It don't land oh. The thing where we find for Onitsha, Lagos or Benin, don't they our domos for Ekpoma. Mama Bichio home of textile material. Don't bring Onitsha come Ekpoma. Which kind of textile material you define? Now high target, big and small, Hollandis, Impress, Javiva, having a high quality lace like Polish lace, word lace, mercury lace, sequence lace, French lace. Now you define Mama Victory home of textile material. Get all of them and plenty others for who for both sales and retails. If na quality judge of all types, e-day, head tie of different grades, e-day. Having earrings, necklace, wristwatches, and wedding rings with bags and shoes to match. Not a go Onitsha or any other place you find Ashwebi material. Again, everything there Mama Victory home of textile material. We're there for number 6, then Albo Street, for back of Mary the Queen Catholic Church for Ekpoma. We still there for number 11, Dover Street, by 3 Junction for Ekpoma. Mama Victory home of textile materials. This na Onitsha for Ekpoma. Mama Victory.
Where you want jolly this Christmas? Share for Hollywood. Where you go to groove with superheroes, chop life with your favorite action film celeb. With all the Christmas bling bling, come forget yourself inside children play. I mean for Bollywood, where you go to dance to beautiful songs. Go there for Yakata in love with their lovey drama where they touch everybody. I mean for Naija with our own Nollywood, where you go enjoy your bonge Naija films like Alagbara Season 2, Memuna the corporate house girl, Pepper Boat plus all the Boku film where go make person laugh forget himself. Anyone where you want, Star Times full grand perekete to carry you go there. Come top up with our Awoof Star Times Christmas upgrade. Make you just pay 2 months subscription and Star Times go upgrade you go the next bouquet instanta, and you fit still even win from the 30 LED Star Times television or 100 generator with full grand when you enter for our raffle draw. This promo now from November 1st go reach